Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're starting a coverage of this game. Home is where one starts. It jumps right into it,
I'll
so
never forget that
I'm just
morning.
gonna be quiet.
I had already missed the school bus, but I stood there anyway, watching and envying the birds.
So this is inspired by like Dear Esther or Gone Home, a kind of walking simulator experience game that is about memorizing or finding your memories and finding experiences. It has full control. It sells right now for $2.99. Came out in 2015 by a single developer. And yes, you will run into the issue, certainly, in which you could call this a asset flip game, in the sense that he probably didn't make this skybox. He probably didn't make these trees. He probably didn't make anything we're seeing right now. Like, he may have programmed the birds to fly, or that may have been pre-bought animations and pre-bought code also. But the difference between an asset flip game and something that is simply a short limited game that fully admits that it's a short limited game at the beginning there. It said this is a game designed to be played in one sitting, is the amount of polish you're willing to put on your gameplay. Uh, see, quality, everything here seems to be set fine, so we don't have to adjust any settings. So yeah, you definitely would have a different experience um, compared to just if this was a simplistic Roblox clone or Fortnite clone, and you were thrown into this area and there was just some very ugly looking zombies crawling towards you and you were supposed to shoot at them. So there's several achievements in the game, 17 items you can hold and observe, which this is, I'm pretty sure, just a default like model tester in Unreal that we have seen over the past decade or so. Nearly every Unreal game have the ability to spin at least some of the objects around and look at them. I would like to point out that this is a terrible, terrible backpack. Not because it has an elephant on it, not because it's dirty, but because even if these are very soft foam tusks and trunk, when kids are supposed to be lining up or getting pushed around, uh, somebody's gonna get poked by these, and that's not gonna be fun. Certainly. Let's see. I picked it up with the right trigger, and there's a whole school bus. We don't, I guess, know how.
I've heard people say their greatest fear is to wake up and wonder what could have been.
Hmm.
My greatest fear is to wonder what could never be.
I think I may have literally just ended the game by just standing around and talking too much. Well, I did. Wow. And that was an achievement. Well, let's launch back into it. And this time let's not walk towards the bus.
I'll never forget that morning. I had already missed the school bus, but I stood there anyway, watching and envying the birds.
So this is a memory of you as a kid. So we'll just have to walk around, and we're supposed to find 8 memories and 16 more pickup items, which means that a significant amount of this stuff is not going to be pick-upable. There's no jumping or anything like that. Looks like there might be a bug crawling around the window. For the speed at which one is moving, probably not going very far in this direction. You have this kind of weird cursor that's a little too detailed for its own good. And I guess we're trying to get a general idea of the height of the character, and I guess this is a child. Let's see, rubber duck. There's another holdable item. And toilet. So this does look somewhat like a kind of dump-like area, but it's not really that bad. It looks like there's mostly just a bunch of very repeated weeds. And it's going to be hard to figure out what's important and what isn't. And is there going to be an invisible wall? You kind of have to assume that there will be. So it's like pumpkins. Well, it seems like more foliage is popping in as you walk further and further away, which again, I may just end the game accidentally by running away as a child. There's a post. Okay. So there's a post here, and it indicates just a point in which one cannot continue. Interesting. And so we kind of know the fullness of this area. One of the things about Gone Home that made Gone Home really good, in retrospect, several years after playing it, wow, easy to get lost in there, was the fact that there was just a massive effort there, obviously, to have a lot of writing, whereas a lot of these more walking simulator games tend not to have that much writing. I don't feel like Gone Home would have ever let me go this far without bumping into something that would have triggered some sort of internal monologue. You have some very purplish god rays coming from the sun. And I suspect what we're going to do is we're going to have to go back in the house and either find our parent had died just seconds, minutes after we left the house, or had died and we left the house for school anyways, got herself ready.
I had walked around the woods a million times by myself, but it felt different that morning. I thought about how ancient those giant trees were, and how they were probably the same size when I was born. It seemed so long ago when I was a baby. That morning was the first time in my life I realized that I was growing up.
Interesting. So I don't know what really triggered that, other than maybe the fact that I was walking outside the woods. The other thought is I go back in the house and it's not that one of my parents has died, it's that they're having an affair, and I catch them having an affair.
I wish I could forget that smell.
Traumatic.
The smell of alcohol mixed with mold. I hated that trailer, even when my father was away at work.
So it does seem like she got herself ready for school, and I want to applaud the voice acting here. There's been several instances of games where the voice acting felt like it was recorded poorly in an area that was not well suited for voice acting, or that the one character's voice acting was totally unbalanced compared to everyone else's voice acting. It's a little hard here to find all the pickup items. I suppose this could very much be balanced out and feel like one of the Slender to 8 Pages games where you're just running around looking for items, if that's what you want to do. Was it the... what does that say? The allable parts of fortune? Or gullible parts of fortune? The moral parts of fortune? So this is your father's bed with a knife on the bed that you picked up. Broken bottles. Filthy, rusted out bathtub. Which... broken mirror. You do kind of run into the problem of almost all these stories dangerously ensuring that they're going to be bummer stories. I feel like Gone Home did something kind of genius by making it a atmosphere feel like it was going to be a horror game, to the point where I tortured myself mentally thinking something spooky was going to jump out, and it basically never did in Gone Home. And then the actual story that was being told to you was more of just a coming to a new understanding about what's been going on in my sister's life, and what happened, what she decided to do, and what happened to her. I don't want to spoil Gone Home. It's still very much worth playing. Whereas you definitely can have games. I am just clicking on everything. I would not have seen that otherwise. I just picked that up through the wall, that's why. Do you have a lot of games that want to tell stories and then just can't write? Or they're not writing anything special. So it's no surprise that they don't have an impact. Almost no video game writing is very good. At best you get average, and usually you get worse than average. This trailer home design, I haven't actually looked at a lot of trailer home designs, so I don't know if you would use this many doors and jump through so many different angles to separate things out. Let's see, baby monitor. We're now up to 6. Oh, I guess maybe this isn't a baby monitor. It's just a special made thing labeled RN.
I had an obsession with space. I thought I'd be the first astronomer to discover a planet beyond Pluto. I also thought birds could fly anywhere, even to outer space. To be a bird and to fly to other planets, I couldn't imagine a more perfect life.
This is a weird layout for a computer, and I don't know why it's being triggered that's the conversation about space, because this power supply here, this box, is more likely to have been over this direction. Actually, it shouldn't be on top of either one of those for specs, because you could not put a CPU cooler on if it was over to the left, and you can't plug in any video cards, which is what these little white things would be, as PCI slots or PCI Express slots. So, yeah, that case. There have been some Dell computers that have definitely done things like that, custom designs and such, but I wonder if perhaps this was what was triggering it and I just was not looking in the right direction. And it seems like she has no bed frame and a Game Boy and a book here that, to me, if I was to guess, looks like the Bible. Yeah, it's the Bible. Job 21 with some highlights. So I don't know if that's her highlighting, because that she doesn't really seem old enough to be highlighting in the Bible. And frankly, I think half the people that highlight Bible passages in the Bible are literally just doing it to keep themselves busy during Sunday services. But she has like no clothes either. So I would suspect that that was her mother's Bible, and she probably does read it, but yeah, we're not certain the age here. Like, you're getting a fairly varied age. You have somebody who's being neglected enough that they're being allowed to take apart a computer, particularly in the time frame here. This, you're talking $1,000 equivalent computer there. A Game Boy itself would have been like $250, so I'm not sure where they're getting the money for these electronics if they're living in a trailer park and they're broke, and the guy and the father's an alcoholic. So kind of an inconsistency storytelling. And then you just don't know the age because you have that backpack that looks like an elephant, and unless that's a hand-me-down, it's not unbelievable that the computer and the Game Boy are hand-me-downs also. Gifts or something like that. Or maybe the father is fairly broke but does try to buy the love of his daughter with gifts. It's just a lot of these origami things. But then we saw no blank paper in her room or an origami book, so that's some inconsistency also. And if these are just pre-bought assets, that would certainly explain to some of the inconsistency. So we have a lock on a shed, and in most video games you would assume that means we need to find a key to open the shed. I'm not sure if that's really the case here or not. Is there a possibility that I can go somewhere else? I probably can't cross these leaves after a certain point. Yeah. There definitely are some walking sim games that have relevancy. This was a highly reviewed and positively reviewed game, and that means there was some well-received experience
that pond
here.
was pure bliss growing up. I can't remember if I had a fishing pole or not, but there definitely wasn't any fish. I didn't need to catch anything anyway. I once spent an entire Saturday afternoon trying to climb on top of one of those hay bales just so I could take a nap in the sun. When I finally did it, I was too happy to fall asleep.
This is one of those points where the game would probably be better suited to take direct control away from me and tilt the camera And while this does have full control support, you're not really getting a lot from full controller support, other than the fact that this is probably just an Unreal Engine game, and that by default means it would have worked fairly well without having to put any extra effort into programming. Okay. I didn't know I was going to be able to do that. I thought I was going to let's see if I can do this with all of them. Nope, just that one. I thought I was going to pick a flower next to it. So that's the only hay bale, and that was another achievement. There's actually a significantly high percentage of people who have gotten all the achievements. Normally, the least common achievement is somewhere around the 1% mark if everybody's bought the game. For this game, it's up to 12%, which that's really, really high, which means it's really, really easy to get the achievements done. And this is one of those games that must motivate people to do that. There is a problem, certainly, as far as just the financial value of something like this, because you're talking a game that was $3 that probably is really only going to give you an hour of legitimate gameplay, and then you're going to have to make your own fun and decide if you want to get all the achievements and wander around and if you want to see everything. And it does... A good argument could be made that this is closer to a $1.50 game and not an $3 game. And I wouldn't be surprised if not it never goes on sale. Like, there definitely have been people, I think, on Steam, or it'd be my opinion or my guess that there have been people on Steam that have listed a game 5 years ago, and every now and then they just get a nice little check for a few more dollars. This looks like a burnt down house. So is the backstory that the family lived in the house originally and it burnt down? That would make sense. And maybe the mother died in the fire and the father can't bear to leave his land, but he's also devastated by it. Yeah, of course, then again, you run into that problem of who's writing the story.
It's funny that in a decrepit grave of a house, I found something beautiful a stranger had left a long time ago. I would stare at it for ages after a bad day.
Again, just
I've tried
should
over
have
and
taken
over
control of
to
the
draw it how I
camera
remember,
and made it.
but it's not the same. One day I'll find that stranger, and I'll say thank you.
That's highly artistic. Like, you're not going to do that with just a stencil in 5 minutes. I don't know why anybody would tag something inside a building, though, particularly if you're going to be that high level quality with it. You would have put that on the outside of a building, outside of a barn or something.
The neighbor's dog was my best friend. I'd save up all my money just to buy him food and to talk to him for a while. For some reason, though, he would never go past the fence. I would beg and plead, but eventually he would just run back home. Why was he scared?
Interesting. This might be a scenario where we assume we're a little girl and it turns out we're actually like a monster. We don't recognize it. I've definitely seen stories like that. But then again, we are getting into the realm of me personally writing a better story than what is actually being presented here. We frankly are quickly approaching the end of the experience. And I don't think I'm best suited anymore to wander around the edges of the boundaries. I think I'm better suited to see if anything stands out visually, and this tree stands out visually. I am really short, and the grass is really tall. So nothing there. Is the grass growing taller and taller? Because I don't recall it being this tall. So it seems like there's kind of a different section. A couple different sections. I guess the idea there, instead of randomizing the types of grasses, they've just made different sections of grasses. Have we been to this building? I've lost my orientation. Like, I don't know where the trailer house is. It does seem like this is enjoying teasing buildings that I just can't reach. Where did the trailer house go? Like, where are we? There's the trailer. I guess this might be... That would be a very interesting trick if every time you turned around the world changed and time went forward and we just missed. Everything moved forward and changed. And you're aging in this memory. Which at a certain point, that's, I guess, what this is you reliving a memory. Okay. Let's just hit this several times. See if there's any boards that look loose. You kind of don't want to go inside, because that's the boring stuff, and I don't think that there would be too much more you could take from that. But I kind of don't know where else to go. Well, that got me to a high point. I think there's a fence over here that would stop me from doing anything, but we might as well double check. Yeah, that's the building we just saw. And that's the well. And it's that. And it seems like the back of the forest pretty much blocks you. Let's see. Do we get any indication of how much we've done of this game? Because it would really stink if it turned out that I got 5 out of the 6 memories and then somehow triggered an ending without getting the final memory. Which it feels like walking down the road would trigger the final memory. Would potentially trigger the final memory. Nope. You can definitely tell how this game could have been 3 times as wide, as big, just by allowing you to transverse a little bit further. And this definitely is what a walking simulator is, where certainly a lot of games get accused of being walking simulators and they actually have a level of gameplay mechanics, whereas this really is just walking. And ironically, walking simulators almost never are designed around the idea of just having a lovely walk in a pretty forest, because nobody's going to spend that extra effort to have something look beautiful and have nothing happen in it. Personally, I think games closer to The Vanishing of Ethan Carter that at least had more story and a few puzzles in it are more my speed, where you might call that a walking simulator. I think it also is very fairly described as a simplistic adventure game with a little bit of interaction. I guess I have to go back into the forest. Because unless there's a key item, which I don't know how there would be a key item considering how I can't pick up anything. Let's just look at that, yeah. Like I could look up at the birds and perhaps try and see the birds, or perhaps I need to use the zoom ability somewhat over here to zoom in on specific buildings. Again, I would say the zoom function exists solely because the Unreal Engine just comes with that pre-programmed into it. Although I can't make a huge amount of complaints about the Unreal Engine and its availability to the masses. I can't be very elitist there compared to something like let's see, like the RPG Maker engine, because the RPG Maker engine is kind of notoriously used for only making bad RPGs that are sold on Steam for a quick buck, and the best thing you can get out of an RPG Maker game is, if you're so inclined, some of them might have a little bit of adult content in them, but almost certainly never enough to justify even $1 worth of money. Interesting. There's shapes here. I guess I didn't open the mailbox. Let's see. Mr. James Northern? So there's supposedly 7 other things to interact with. This whole fence section here that then just kind of stops. And there's fireflies. They're little pollen things. But there's no real interact button with the pollen. I think we might be going to go back into the house and just look a second time. See if we missed something. Why would there be an air conditioner vent there? I guess that is actually code nowadays, is that there needs to be 2 vents on a water heater. So all kinds of cabinets here that could have been opened. All kinds of things that we could mess with. The zoom in here is not much, and it so far have yet to see anything actually interact with it. See, if I could take this with me and then walk somewhere, that would be different, because then it would actually be a game with some interactables instead of just a random assortment of stuff. Can't turn on the TV, can't put in a tape, which is what you would imagine someone who missed school would do. What's this? Is that a box of cigarettes, or is that something else? Probably a box of cigarettes. You have one jacket. Up here you have things you can't reach. More nothing on the shelf. You have a duck here that you can't interact with, which is weird. You'd think you'd be able to interact with all the ducks. Let's see. It does kind of feel like you are in danger as a child of just finding a gun in this place and shooting it. Yeah, but there's nothing here. You can't zoom in on that. You can slightly zoom in on that. Nothing in here. She has a chessboard, but seemingly no one to actually play chess with. Like, it would, I guess, be just a question about what would you have to zoom in on? Like the Bible. Can't zoom in when you already zoomed in. Birds. Mattress. Yeah, that seems like there's nothing here. And we walked out on this side. I guess we could walk around the house just to make sure we didn't miss something. Can't do anything with the circuitry. Tires. Dirty barrels. And air conditioner unit. Yeah, we're dangerously getting to the point of frustration with the game though. Like, there's not a lot happening here. And unless there was like a key that was supposed to be somewhere around here in this tractor. They would open that. All I can think of doing is making a mad dash for the forest. Like, we saw this trash and there's pumpkins before, but there's a shoe. Interesting. It looks like it's either see-through or cut in half. I guess it's see-through. A Cinderella reference, a glass slipper, and pumpkins. So they're trying to be artsy. Wonder if there's any other visual references that we've missed. You just don't really have enough of a field of view, though, for most of this. So, yeah, you walk towards this direction, and you're gonna hit the wall. And zooming in doesn't let you see much. And I kind of just want to stay somewhat in the grass sections and outside the bushy sections. It's just not a lot to see. So I'm actually surprised that there are 6 more items. And I'm surprised that there's 1 more memory. And I half suspect that the 1 more memory is I'm supposed to just go stand where the bus is supposed to pick me up. And that's that. And that there really is no big wrap-up memory or story here. I don't know why this would be so positively reviewed then. Like, did I get trolled? Was there a concerted effort? Did the creator pay 300 people to rate the game well? 5 more things? Not a very smooth soccer ball. Ah, graveyard. So, perhaps this is the wrapping up of the experience. Just kind of hidden in the middle there.
I almost never went into that old cemetery, but that morning I did. I guess I wanted to feel something, even if it was only fear. I was terrified because of a vivid memory. I remember I'd lost something important, and I realized it was near that graveyard. I gathered up all my courage, imagining how Princess Leia would act. Right as I stepped into the gates, I heard a ghost screaming at me. I ran as fast as I could, and I never looked back.
So Princess Leia dates the character. Doesn't make her particularly old at that rate, since Star Wars Episode 4 happened like in the 70s, maybe 80s. And if that was the thing she lost that was precious, she's not saying anything about that now. There's 1 more memory, which I guess means that somewhere around here there is 1 more thing. If there's a graveyard here, then it leaves the implication that this is either very much family land or church land at some point. You don't typically build a graveyard in the back of your land in modern times. So it would, like, which that certainly would explain why the trailer house is living there still. But I guess this also indicates that there's something else hidden amongst the trees. And probably several things that I've missed. It's gonna kind of stink if I have to go and like find a map to try and find the remaining pickup items. I'm not sure if I get a choice or not. Maybe I trigger the last memory and that's the end of the game.
I once made my own fort in the woods and called it my mansion. I imagined it being this giant house with furniture and a TV. And I even had separate rooms for toys and for tinkering with computers. It was a place where everything was better. It was home.
And see, here you have like a real person's.
After walking around, I started to think. I started to feel brave. My father had hidden a key in his room, so I went to go get it.
Okay. So you have to get all 8 memories. I wish there was a way to save here. Because there is seemingly a high chance that we get the key in his room. It opens the shed. Inside the shed, we don't have the remaining 5 or 6 items that need to be interacted with, because somewhere amongst the grass here is one more thing. They actually did a lot of successful hiding for what is effectively just one round area with a lot of grass. And you couldn't have gotten the key until this point. And now we're hearing music. And I wonder if we are a ghost. I don't know if I want to chase the music or what. Interesting. So I guess the audio there was supposed to indicate where the key was. Is there a way to turn off the ceiling fan? I'm looking to see if there's like a light switch that I could have interacted with. Apparently not. So it could be I'm also crazy and I started the fire and killed the mother, and hearing a ghost is an example of hallucinatory traits that I have. I lied at the beginning and said that the bus had already missed me, but clearly if you stand still, the bus does get you. Interesting. We have chainsaw, a bike we can interact with, a saw. What else can we interact with? I mean, it does look like just tools, frankly. But it also certainly could be a collection of torture devices. Well, I guess we grab the bike and we ride. Which way is the bike? Why is the bike hidden from us and locked away? Can we now go further? Past the walls? Yes, we can.
At that moment, all the invisible walls in my life disappeared. what I would give to ride that bike one more time.
Interesting. So we just have like a no clip mode enabled. So David Wheel was the creator of this game, and that gave me one achievement, and Elsie or Wheel voiced it, and she did a good job for the 7 or 8 lines of dialogue she gave. So it looks like a husband and wife team worked on it. Nothing wrong here. Maybe just a little short by modern standards, and certainly this would have been in the beginnings of games that were asset flips, not in the current position we are now in, where asset flips are so common and so bad that this would easily have gotten overlooked. See, the sun will rise as an achievement here that says find all the voice overs in one sitting. Find all the objects you hid from your father with is an achievement called Good Intentions. Study the stencil is an achievement called Sewn by the Mountain. And then Sentimentalist is pick up all examinable options in one playthrough. And so this is one of those games that I have like 4 of 8 achievements for, and it is only been 55 minutes, so I guess the question would be, do you want to really go through a game like this and play it a couple times? This is the remastered version also. Let's see, we have a discussion here that says the sun will rise might be bugged as an achievement. And then let's see, somebody clicking to a link for a full achievement guide. Let's see. So the first run, you do what I did and just wait for 3 months for the bus. And then the second run, you climb the hail bell, you stare at the stencil, you witness the dog running away, which I guess I did that, even though I didn't see that. Then Best Intentions is to discover the thrown flask. The sun will rise, all narrations heard. It is the one they think is bugged. Sentimentalist is all 17 interactive items. And now Fly is unlock the shed and get the bicycle, which is what we got. So, the question, I guess, is I probably could get Best Intentions fairly quickly. And apologies for nothing being shown at the moment. The memories are the start sequence, the pond, the abandoned shack, the dog treat boxes, the forest fort, the graveyard, the path from the graveyard, which I guess is the forest, and discovering the flask, and then entering the trailer, and then entering the narrator's room. And then going back to the narrator's room again. And apparently what I missed was a fishing pole, a baseball bat, a spray can, a soccer ball, a novel called East of Eden, the flask, what else? That's it. Okay. And it doesn't look like there's anything else that really is to be said to here, frankly. Let's Let's launch back into the game just so we can sit on this screen for a moment. There's not a lot to really say here. It's a walking simulator that takes less than an hour. With Steam's new 2 hours, no question asked refund policy, a game like this is doomed to potentially be purchased by a lot of people and then refunded, even if they did feel like they got some amount of money's worth of entertainment from it. Even if they felt like they got over $3, which is what it sells for, worth of entertainment, I could see people being broke and trying to refund it just for that. Now, as a video game critic and a content creator who, in theory, at some point might make a few pennies off of this video, it's unethical for me to refund a game like this. Otherwise, I would definitely consider it. Not that there's anything wrong with Home is Where One Starts. It probably should have been a much longer experience. That should have been Act 1, and then in riding off on the bicycle, there should have been a Act 2, which what you probably would want to do is move it to a point where she was like graduating from high school or college, or she was going on like a first date in college or something like that. And then you could even have an Act 3 where she's walking around in her wedding dress about to get married. And then you could go through 3 major acts at that point. And then you might even have a 4th act where she's in her own house with her own child at that point. And we could follow the life of the narrator character a little bit more, even if nothing really happens. If it is just a sentimental journey telling some of the memorable events of the character's story, that would be better than just telling the story about the one time you missed the bus. Like, I have a better story, I think, personally, of the one time I missed the bus, and it was I rolled over and went back to sleep and said, heck, I'll go to school tomorrow, and got in big trouble for that. Apparently, that is not the appropriate response if you missed the bus. Who knew? But yeah, there's not enough meat on this bone. That being said, this is the second game that I've played in a row that was less than $5 that then has caused me to play it 2 or 3 times in a row because of achievement hunting, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I'll put probably another hour on into this off screen just to get all the achievements, but I don't think it's really worth it to show 2 more pieces of dialogue. Yeah, I just don't think there's enough of a game here to recommend something like this. You've basically seen it, and this is where, even when I'm incessantly criticizing and talking over a game, if the game is so short and so simplistic, there's not a great argument to tell other people to experience this. You literally would just be controlling the character and having them walk around the world. I would heavily recommend playing Gone Home, and I can't surmise all of the events of the story in Gone Home in just one sentence. Home is where one starts. You can surmise as a girl misses the bus, and this is what she does. That's far too simplistic. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.